Thank you to everybody who is helping with the 2025 Pinellas County Point in Time Count. This will be a review of training for team leaders and volunteers who have participated in the Pinellas Pit since 2022 when we started using a digital survey tool. If you would like additional information about the Pinellas Point in Time Count, please don't hesitate to visit www.pinellashomeless.org/PIT. Before we dive into the 2025 PIT, it's important to know how PIT data is reported and how it has changed over the years. On screen, you will see the trend of unsheltered homelessness as reported through point in time counts here in Pinellas County from 2016 to 2024. And you will notice that overall unsheltered homelessness has decreased in Pinellas County since 2016. Of course, we do see on screen a slight uptick in 2024. If you would like additional data about the 2024 Pinellas Point in Time Count or point in time counts past, please visit www.pinellashomeless.org/pit data, or you can scan the QR code on screen. Now it's time to talk about serving as a team leader during the point in time count. So all volunteers will receive an email with their assigned shift and deployment center by 12 p.m. on Friday, January 24th. If you do not see this email by noon on the 24th, please first check your junk folder and then email vkelly@hlapinellas.org if you still don't see it. Until then, please keep your schedule free for your pit shift. Shifts are 3 hours long, beginning at 6 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. Each schedule will include, of course, the assigned shift, as well as the assigned deployment center. Deployment centers in South Pinellas will be Boley Centers in St. Petersburg. Mid Pinellas will be the City of Largo offices in Largo. North Pinellas will be the Homeless Empowerment Program, or HEP, in Clearwater. And in Lealman and Tarpon Springs, volunteers will be deployed through the Florida Dream Center. Our first responder partners, we ask to see their supervisors for their schedule. When you are preparing for your pit shift, please ensure you first fully charge your phone or tablet, and if possible, bring a backup device or backup charger because you will be using your mobile device in the field. Be sure to prepare for any weather and wear comfortable shoes because you may be doing a bit of walking and it may be cold, it may be warm, it may even rain. So please be prepared for the weather and wear comfortable shoes. Please also avoid bringing too many items as you will be juggling a smart device, incentives, perhaps a bottle of water, maybe a couple of other things, and you just don't want to have too many things with you out in the field. When you arrive at your deployment center for your shift, please be sure that you are there 30 minutes early. This will allow you, the team leader, adequate time to check in for your shift and ensure that you are ready to go before your team members start arriving for the shift as well. Once you have your team together, we recommend gather phone numbers for the team and make a plan to travel to your assigned survey zone. This will ensure everybody knows where they are going, how to get there, and how to remain in contact with each other throughout the day. While you are in the field, please always keep an eye on your team. We tell volunteers to always keep an eye on each other and really kind of practice the buddy system through this. As the team leader, we ask that you always keep an eye on your team members as well. And please be prepared to answer questions. As team leaders or veteran volunteers, you may be relied upon to answer questions out in the field. If you need assistance, though, please don't hesitate to call the deployment center or technical assistance, phone numbers that you will get when you check in for your shift. And if you are completing surveys, of course, please be prepared as a team leader to not complete as many surveys as the members of your team. You may end up having to assist them while they do surveys, but if you are completing a survey, we recommend approaching people in a polite, friendly, conversational tone, introducing yourself and asking if they would like to participate in a survey about housing and resources here in Pinellas County. If somebody says no, or if somebody is too disoriented, you can, of course, terminate the survey, thank them for their time, and end the interaction. As team leaders or as veteran volunteers, please know that your team members may ask you for assistance if they run into this sort of situation. Before the point in time count, Please make sure that you practice again as many surveys as needed. Volunteers can practice 5 surveys in the app or 50 surveys in the app. It doesn't matter. Please practice as many as you need in order to feel comfortable for your shift on January 30th. And you can practice between now and January 29th. During PIT, when you are completing those surveys, it's really important to ensure that we are completing a survey for each adult that is present. So every adult or unaccompanied youth standing in front of us should complete a long primary survey. We have supplemental surveys available for adults who are not present, but a member of their household is, or minor children. What that might look like in practice is a couple where one person is standing in front of you and the other is at work. For the person standing in front of you, you would do one of the long primary surveys. You would then, with that same person, complete a supplemental survey or a shorter survey on the household member's behalf when they are not there in front of you. You would then give one incentive to that person for that one primary survey. If that couple has a minor child, you will do a short supplemental survey for that minor child, regardless of whether or not they are in front of you or elsewhere. You again would not give an incentive for that supplemental survey for that minor child. And we ask, of course, that you use the digital survey as often as possible instead of paper surveys to ensure that we make that heat map as accurate as possible. We had mentioned incentives earlier. Incentives will be provided to everybody that completes a PIT survey. So we will be giving out gift cards to survey respondents to thank them for their expertise and for their time. Unused incentives should be returned to you, the team leader, so that you can return them to the deployment center at the end of the shift. Unused incentives will be reused in 2026. So it's really important that we have all of the unused incentives back at the deployment center at the end of the shift. And again, everybody who completes a primary survey, who is standing there in front of us and does a survey, will get an incentive. We have these gift cards available, but we also have PSTA bus passes available as backup. So if you're part of a later shift and you see a PSTA bus pass instead of a gift card, please do not be surprised. You will also have resource cards available to distribute out in the field in case you need those. You will have them for you and for your volunteers. Please return the unused resource cards to the deployment center as well. Lastly, we ask that volunteers do not hand out additional items while you are out in the field. We sincerely appreciate volunteers that want to provide additional resources for our community members, and we will provide opportunities to continue donating and staying involved in volunteering after PIT. Now let's talk about the PIT survey and app for 2025. Let's start first and foremost by downloading the ArcGIS Survey 123 app. You can go to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store or the Microsoft Store and download this directly. Or you can scan the QR codes on screen, and that'll take you straight to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. When you find ArcGIS Survey 123, it will have that logo that you see on the right corner of the screen. It is a green square with a white notebook and check mark in the middle. Go ahead and download that. If you have an issue downloading it because of your organization's firewall or protections, please be sure to reach out to your IT department. And then if you need assistance, please reach out to the HLA from there. When you log in to the ArcGIS Survey 123 app, please ensure that you are logging in with the username and password created in December of 2024 or January of 2025 for the 2025 point in time count. If you use a separate login for your work or something else, please be sure to log out of that and into your new account so that you can access the 2025 survey. And then please be sure that you allow the app to access your location. This is how we ensure that we make that heat map. And this is just what the app looks like in the Apple App Store. A few tips for before we get started. Please do not share your password, as you can only log in on one device at a time. So if you share your password with somebody, they may be conducting surveys, while you are not conducting surveys. So please do not share that username and password and only log in on one mobile device at a time. Please practice surveys as many as you want between now and January 29th, the day before PIT. And if you need help while you are practicing, please reach out to the HLA at vkelly@hlapinellas.org. And during PIT, there will be technical assistance available. So don't worry if you get tripped up on the day, there will be assistance available for you. Now we will walk through the app. So please follow along in your app with this video.
Now that we've downloaded the app, it's time to sign in. Click Sign in with ArcGIS online and enter the username and password created in December of 2024 or January of 2025 for the Pinellas PIT event. Then click Sign in. If your organization or agency also uses ArcGIS, you may have to click your ArcGIS organization's URL and enter Pinellas Home List and then click Continue. Once you've entered Pinellas Home List and clicked Continue, enter your username and password for the 2025 PIT event and click Sign in. On the next page, your app may ask to access your location. Please allow the app to access your location while you are using it, as this is how that heat map is created. Then you can download the surveys. Download the surveys either by clicking Download Surveys at the bottom of the screen or by clicking your initials in the top right of the screen and then clicking Download Surveys. You should see 2025 Pinellas point in time count on your screen at the top, but if you do not, you can enter 2025 Pinellas point in time count manually in the search bar. Once you see 2025 Pinellas point in time count, you can download it by clicking the icon to the right that looks like a cloud with an arrow pointing down. You know you've downloaded the survey when the icon changes to 2 arrows in a circle. Then you can download HLA survey count. This will be how you monitor how many surveys you have completed both through practice and on the day of the PIT event. Click that same icon and download. Once both are downloaded, click the back button in the top left of the screen. Now we'll try a practice survey. Click 2025 Pinellas point in time count, and then you'll click Collect at the bottom of the screen. If completing a Spanish language survey, click the 3 lines on the top right of the screen and click Español. If you need to change it back to English, just click those same 3 lines in the top right of the screen and click English.
Because you allowed the app to access your location, it should automatically populate with every new survey. But if you need to, you can click the map and manually enter your survey location or drag your pin to the correct spot on the map. If you're changing your location, be sure to click the check in the bottom right of the screen to save it. Then you're going to select your assigned zone. You will be given a specific zone on January 30th, but it doesn't matter which zone you choose for training. Once you've chosen that, click the next arrow in the bottom right. Then you'll see the introduction. Please introduce yourself and ask if the individual has 5 to 10 minutes to complete a survey about housing in Pinellas County. If they say yes, click confirm and then the next arrow in the bottom right. Then mark that you are able to survey or are not able to survey this person. And then we will ask if they have completed a survey earlier today. If they have, you'll be prompted to note where, and then you'll hit the check on the bottom right and hit send now, and this will send the survey through, ending the survey. For the purposes of the survey, I'll hit continue the survey and change my answer to no, they haven't completed it earlier today. Then the consent will pop up. Please read this verbal consent verbatim. Then click the next arrow and ask if they understand the consent. If so, mark yes. And then ask if they agree to continue. If they say no, you will be prompted to stop the survey and mark down why the survey is being ended. Then you click the check on the bottom right and hit send now. For training, of course, we'll hit continue the survey and say that they agree. Then we'll ask where they slept last night. You'll notice here that if you say staying in a shelter, transitional housing, or hotel motel, you're prompted to enter that location manually. You'll also notice that if you say in jail or prison, in a hospital or treatment facility, or in a house or apartment they rent or own, you will be prompted to stop the survey, hit that checkbox, and send now. Of course, we're continuing the survey for training. And I will say that they slept on the street, in a car, park, or camp. Our next question, do you currently have any other adults or minors under the age of 18 in your household who are unhoused with you? If no, you can just mark no and then hit that next arrow in the bottom right. But we will say yes for training. And then we will ask how many adults other than them are in the house and how many minors are in the house. For the purposes of training, let's say no other adults, but one minor, so one person under the age of 18. We'll mark that down and hit that next arrow in the bottom right. And now is where we really start the survey. So we'll ask, or we'll note this person's category, the survey category. Adult available means that this is the survey for the adult that is standing in front of you or the unaccompanied youth that is standing in front of you. Adult not available or minors is going to be that shorter supplemental survey. So we will mark adult available and we're going to mark self, for that's the person's relationship to themselves. And then we will ask for their first and last name. Let's go ahead and enter that. Once you've done that, you will move on to ask for their date of birth. You'll notice you can do either a full birth date or a partial birth date. If we're doing a partial birth date, you can use these plus and minus signs to manually go through, or you can actually erase the month and enter in, let's say, 7 for July. And then you can also do the same with the year. You can erase the year and enter, let's say, 1980. And then I clicked July, and the age automatically populated to 44. Once that's done, we'll move on to ask for the person's social security number. You can mark down the full or partial social security number here, but please try and get at least the last 4 digits of that social security number. Then we will ask how they identify their gender. You can select more than one option here, but I want to note that for any question that allows you to select more than one option, if you select prefers not to answer and or doesn't know, as well as another answer, and then try to submit the survey, you will be told that you cannot choose prefers not to answer and or doesn't know with another answer. So just be sure not to select those when choosing an answer. And then we will move down to ask if they identify themselves to be heterosexual, gay, lesbian, bisexual, questioning, unsure, or prefer not to answer, or another gender not listed. And mark as they say. Then we'll ask what race and ethnicity the individual identifies with. And this is another question where we can mark more than one answer. Then we'll ask if they are currently pregnant and if they are a military veteran or if they're currently serving in the United States military. If the answer is yes, you'll be prompted to thank them for their service. Then we'll ask what the highest level of education that they've completed is and mark their response. Then we'll ask how long they were in Pinellas County before they became unhoused. Mark their response. Then we'll ask what area they mainly stay in. Here, you'll notice that there are several cities within Pinellas County listed, as well as Tampa, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, or other cities, counties, or states. If you choose other cities, counties, or states, you will be prompted to manually enter that location, but we'll say St. Pete. Then we'll ask if they were ever in foster care and mark their response. And then we'll ask if they would like to share their contact information for potential connection to housing programs and resources. If so, click yes, and you can enter a phone number, an email address, and or a frequent location or mailing address. If not, go ahead and click no and move down to the next question. What was the main reason that caused you to lose your permanent housing this time? It's really important to note that we are asking about this incident of homelessness here. Please do not read these responses. Please just mark what correlates best with the answer given. Say hurricane. And then we will move on to, have you ever been evicted? Yes or no? And have you been in jail within the last 12 months in jail or prison? Yes or no? And then we'll ask, in the last 3 years, so since January of 2022, how many months in total have you been unhoused? And mark the response. In that same past 3 years, so also since January 2022, how many separate times have you stayed on the streets or in shelters, including this time? So the last question, we were asking how many months in total they've experienced homelessness. So we're asking them to add each individual incident. In this question, we're asking how many separate incidents there were. Then we're going to ask how long they've been unhoused this time. So not the previous incidences of homelessness, but this specific incident of homelessness. And we'll mark their response in days, months, or years. Then we will ask about medical history or disabling conditions. Ask if they have any of the following conditions or disabilities. Alcohol use disorder, say no. Drug use disorder, they say no. A chronic health condition, they say yes. Developmental, they say no. HIV/AIDS, they say no. Mental health disorder, they say yes. Physical disorder, maybe they prefer not to answer this one. And then we will ask if they have access to health services or a medical clinic, so that you know if they say the blue card, that is access to medical services. We'll go ahead and say they do. And then our last or potentially last question is if they are a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault, or stalking. If the answer is no, you can move on to the next survey or the supplemental survey. If the answer is yes, another question will pop up and you will be prompted to ask if the current unhoused situation is a result of fleeing from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. Mark the response and move to the next question or next survey. Our next survey is for that minor child that we indicated is also part of this household. So since it's for a minor child, we will mark minor under survey category. And then we will ask the individual what that minor's relationship is to them. Let's say it's their child. Then, of course, we'll ask for the child's first and last name and enter it as given. Then, are you able to obtain this person's birth date? Yes, it's that same full or partial. You can do the exact same thing. Let's say that they were born in July of 2020 or 2019, and they are 5 years old. Now we're going to ask for their social security number. Again, you can enter a full or a partial, or of course, select no, doesn't know, doesn't have one, or prefers not to answer. And then we will ask how the child identifies their gender. Again, you can select more than one option here. Then we ask what race and ethnicity the child identifies with. Again, you can select more than one option here. Once that is completed, you can click the checkbox on the bottom right of the screen and then hit Send Now to submit the survey.
To see how many surveys you have completed, click where it says HLA survey count and then hit Collect. It'll ask if you accept to view the number of surveys. Just go ahead and click Accept, and you'll see exactly how many surveys you've completed. To exit out of this screen, hit the X in the upper left corner and close and lose changes. Then you can hit the Then you can hit the back button in the upper left corner. Of course, to start a survey, you will just click 2025 Pinellas Point in Time Count.
If you participated in the 2024 point in time count, or if your agency uses ArcGIS Survey 123, you may find that you have surveys on your dashboard that you should delete. For instance, if you see HLA homelessness count on your dashboard, that is the 2024 PIT survey that should be deleted.
To delete this survey, simply click HLA Homelessness Count, which is how this survey is titled. If you do not see HLA Homelessness Count on your screen, you do not have the 2024 PIT survey to download. But if you do have it, please click HLA Homelessness Count. And here, you do not click Collect at the bottom. Instead, you click the top right-hand corner of the screen where you see those 3 lines. Here, you click Delete Survey, and then Delete.
If your volunteers are completing paper surveys in the field, of course we ask that the digital surveys be used as often as possible. But if we are using paper surveys, please ensure that your volunteer puts their name, their location, the time of date, and your name, their team leader, at the very top. Please also verify that all of the responses in that paper survey are legible before you dismiss your volunteer for the day. It is much easier to correct those issues in the field than it is over the phone after the fact. If your volunteer is doing a survey and the respondent indicates they are a survivor of domestic violence, your volunteer will ask you, discreetly preferably, to highlight the top of that survey. You will then highlight it and put it in the envelope that is returned to the deployment center at the end of your shift. And we highlight this just to ensure that fewer people see the responses of domestic violence survivors. This is just a quick review of the paper survey so that you know what it looks like. Of course, there are versions of this available in the training materials in English and Spanish in both supplemental and primary surveys in case you would like to review them before January 30th. Now let's talk about ending a volunteer shift. You as a team leader are responsible for dismissing your volunteers at the end of their shift. Before you dismiss your volunteers, you must ensure that they have sent all of their surveys through in the ArcGIS Survey 123 app. This means that they may need to reconnect to Wi-Fi or data. You can go back to the deployment center if you need to. You can, of course, also go to a local store or shop and connect to Wi-Fi or data there if allowed, and you can send your surveys through that way. Your volunteers should show you their ArcGIS app, and where you go to start the survey, instead of clicking collect, you would see outbox below that collect button if they have unsent surveys. You can see an example of this on the left side of the screen. If you see that outbox, ensure the volunteer clicks it and follows the instructions to send those surveys through once they have clicked it. Then once they go back to that main screen, there should be no outbox showing. It should just say collect. They show that to you, you see it, and you verify that they have sent all of their surveys through. No volunteers should be dismissed until team leaders verify that all of the surveys have been sent through. We also ask team leaders to collect all of the extra supplies. Those might be extra incentives, paper surveys, lanyards, maybe a clipboard. At the end of the shift, volunteers can absolutely keep the pens and styluses as a thank you for participating, but please ensure that we are collecting the extra incentives, extra surveys, and returning those to the deployment center at the end of our shift. Once you have all of the volunteers' materials, you verified that their paper surveys are legible, and you have verified that they have sent all of their digital surveys through. You, the team leader, can dismiss them, thank them for their time, and let them go. And then you, the team leader, are asked to return to the deployment center to return all of those materials. And then once you return those materials, your shift will be done as well. A few quick reminders. Please make sure that you are paying attention on January 24th because you will receive your volunteer schedule on January 24th by noon. If you don't see it by noon, please check your junk folder. And then if you still don't see it, please email vkelly@hlapinellas.org. Also, January 29th will be the last day to practice doing surveys in the ArcGIS Survey 123 app. Please do not do any practice surveys on January 30th, the day of the point in time count. But you could do 500 practice surveys between now and January 29th if that's what you need to do to feel comfortable. To continue training, you can go ahead and, of course, complete those practice surveys and review the volunteer and team leader training guides, which will be made available to you. In fact, if you go to www.pinellashomeless.org/pit training, you can get there by going to pinellashomeless.org/pit training or scanning the QR code on the screen and enter the password 2025 PIT. That's 2025, lowercase p, lowercase I, lowercase t. You can access those training guides, paper surveys, and more immediately. Please do not share this password as it is only available to volunteers who have been trained for the 2025 point in time count here in Pinellas County. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to the HLA. Email vkelly@hlapinellas.org. And please don't hesitate to tell us what you thought of the training for this year. We do review this every year and it helps us improve the training for next year. So please, if you have a brief moment, complete a survey to let us know what you thought of the 2025 point in time count, team leader, and repeat volunteer training. Thank you all so much for participating, and we can't wait to see you on January 30th.